Connect. Yay, we're live. Excellent. Okay. And now I will bring us up here so I can watch our chat. Hello, everyone. Welcome to QuaranCon2020 day number 2. We are accidentally the first panel of the day. There was supposed to be another panel this morning and it didn't happen. And I'm actually going to take a moment just to apologize to everyone who wanted to be watching that one. We're really, really sorry. There was a personnel snafu, and the person who was supposed to be there to connect the Zoom to the YouTube was not there, and all our panelists and moderator were there, and we feel really awful that those people's time was wasted this morning. Anyway, you have our apologies. We're going to attempt to reschedule that panel if we can, because we really, really want it to happen, and we feel awful for the upset. However, we are here now, only 4 minutes late with a wonderful panel on marketing. We're missing Ashley Capes. If you were expecting to see him, he will hopefully show up in a bit, but he wasn't here at the start. So we're starting without him and hoping he joins us in a bit. And in the meantime, we have these other lovely publishing people who I'm gonna allow to introduce themselves. Sorry, we'll start with, yes, and you just decide who's gonna go first. Chris, why don't you go first?
Okay, my name is Chris Patterson. I live in Tucson, Arizona. I've published, independent published 3 fantasy books that all fall within the same series. And then I've also published a historical fiction / fantasy novel. Aside from writing, I'm a teacher and a coach at a local high school in Tucson.
Sophie, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sophie Amundsen. I work in London in an independent digital-first genre fiction publisher called Canelo. I'm the marketing and publicity executive there, so I basically do all of the marketing and publicity for our titles, including frontlist, backlist, and we publish across loads of different genres, including historical fiction, fantasy, crime, romance, women's fiction, etc.
And Melinda.
Hi, I publish under the name of ML Spencer, and I write fantasy, obviously. I've got a couple series out, and yeah, marketing and everything. So there we go.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm Virginia McLean, by the way. I am a fantasy author, and I'm an indie fantasy author, and I've been doing this for about, when did I start? 2014-ish. First book, full-length book came out in 2015. And yeah, and I've, as an indie, we've got Ashley, yay! Ashley's joining us shortly. And so as an indie author, I'm in charge of all my own marketing. So, and I've gotten somewhat more successful with it lately. Hello, Ashley. Can you hear us? Yay.
Hi.
Hi, we've got you. Excellent. All right. Sorry, it feels like that's something going right in a morning that everything was going wrong. So getting everybody here feels like a success to me. All right. So the questions that come up, and I know if you guys probably experience the same thing, once you've published anything, really, people talk to you about, oh, well, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book. I'm thinking about publishing. What do you do? And usually, like, we get a lot of writing related questions. We don't often get a ton of marketing questions until someone has actually started to, like, they've already published something, and then they're like, oh, right, now I wrote this book and I produced it, and but no one's reading it. Why is no one reading my book? And that's when usually in indie author forums, etc., we tend to get a lot of these questions about marketing. So people really want, like, you know, when they first approach, I don't know, me about marketing, they're usually like, what do I do to get people to read my book? As if there's like one answer, like this, just do this one thing and then everyone will read your book. What do you guys think are the top 3 things, if you had to, like, if someone asks you that question and you have to try to give them, like, well, look, maybe try these 3 things first, what would your answer to that be? What are the top 3 things that you think would help someone get eyes on their book? Anyone can answer. This is a free-for-all. I've got you all up in gallery mode, so everyone can be seen at the same time. So,
Okay.
Well, I guess
Go ahead.
I guess my main tip is like just completely prepare everything in advance. So in terms of like know exactly what your book is about, but not just from a very, very detailed perspective, like know how you would talk about it to somebody who's not, you know, seen it before, not read it before, not heard anything about it before, so you know your copy. Prepare your target audiences before setting up any ads. Don't just set up an ad that goes out to like the entirety of the world, because I mean, you know, about 99% of them will not look at it. And yeah, just make sure that you have your niche down. So if it's, you know, like you guys are all publishing in fantasy, obviously it's a good area to kind of be publishing in, but it's so broad and it has so much in it. So then like for authors generally everywhere, like what is your niche within that niche and how do you talk about that, and prepare it all in advance so that then when you do make your ad, it's like all ready and prepared, and you can just put things in and you can create your customer personas and your marketing targeting areas a lot quicker, and things like that, and have it all just written down somewhere in a spreadsheet, in a notebook, however you want.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time when you're actually going to make those sorts of ads if it's already just sitting there waiting. A few times I've launched, got nearly ready to launch, and I'm like, wow, I hate my blurb. Why didn't I do this blurb properly 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago? And it's always pretty heartbreaking. But I guess I don't know if I can do 3 off the top of my head. I should be able to, but one I think is go to where readers are. And by that, I guess I'm not saying bust in on readers' spaces and start screaming, buy my book, because that would be terrible. I more mean, if you're going to run an ad, then maybe consider running it on somewhere like Amazon, because that's where readers are and they're there to buy something. That's not me trying to put down Facebook ads, but I'm just saying if you can advertise on a retailer, your readers are already there to some extent. So I try and go to where I assume readers are, again, without bursting in and just shouting about my book. Yeah, try and find where readers are. That's the one the big picture one I'd go for.
Nice. Melinda and Chris, do you guys have anything to add to?
I'm just going to kind of jump onto that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think that what you should do is find out where your readers hang out. For instance, for some authors and some different niches, Instagram is a great marketing tool. For others, our readers are not on Instagram. Same thing with Facebook. You know, there's no sense running Facebook ads if your main target group is young adults, because not a lot of young adults are on Facebook. They would be more likely on Instagram and such. So just kind of know your audience.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that the 3 things that have helped me the most are, you know, Amazon ads obviously are really good. Developing a social media presence. The nice thing about fantasy is it seems like fantasy readers are really intentional about, like on Facebook, they're really intentional about putting the fact that they love fantasy into their profiles. So if you find someone, and for me, I don't do it myself. I have a friend of mine that I do pay, but I have a friend of mine that does my Facebook ads for me. And it's very easy to target a fantasy audience through Facebook. The other thing that's really, really helped me is, I think this is a marketing piece, and that's reaching out to other authors and trying to do newsletter swaps. Those have been really successful for me. You know, just getting other authors that are, you know, in the same genre and maybe even doing a little bit better than you to push your stuff to their readers.
Yeah, that's actually really solid. Newsletter swaps have been very useful to me. almost more useful than advertising, although actually now that I've finally figured out the ins and outs of Amazon ads and Facebook ads, those are more useful. But for a long time, newsletter swaps were my go-to
king
tool for getting getting eyes on my books. And I feel like it's a hard one too, because like a lot of new authors feel like they have to have a newsletter in order to swap with people. And so if you only have 5 people subscribe to your newsletter, how do you convince someone who has 1,500 that they want to share your book, right? Or 3,000 or 10,000, you know, like, and even like I have 1,500, but I do swap sometimes with people who have 10,000 subscribers, and I'm like, I feel a little bad. But I have a reasonably high interaction rate with my 1,500 subscribers, so I hope that evens out. But I do know that a lot of new authors, when it's suggested like you should do newsletter swaps, and they're like, great, except for the part where I need to have a newsletter to do that, and I don't. What are your guys', I have my own answer, but what are your guys' preferred methods for building a newsletter and then giving, what
Can
are
I jump in?
building a newsletter?
Yeah. I guess that sort of thing when you're first starting to build it, and even when you're doing those swaps, something like BookFunnel, if you have that much control over your work, BookFunnel or Insta-Freebie became something.
Oh yeah.
Not like Prolific Works.
Yeah, there you go.
Those sorts of services are one way to sort of get involved with we'll say the bigger authors without actually sort of feeling too bad about your smaller list, because all the authors in that sort of sales landing promo thing that will swap the BookFunnel promo, even though they're author run,
that's a good point.
that can work pretty good. And I used to do a lot of that at the start. Maybe the percentage of people who were deeply engaged versus who instantly unsubscribed was fluctuating. But I always felt like, well, you know, as someone who's pretty much no one, I need to start somewhere. And if I hook one reader from that promo, then cool, I've got one reader and I've got a few books they might get through. You just sort of got to put in the work, don't you?
Yeah, it's true. Collecting an audience is a very long slog, I feel. And I want to just throw out Story Origin is another good one for that, especially when you and it's newer, but it's I think it's extra friendly to people who are just building their newsletter. So, but everyone else should feel free to add to that. What are your preferred methods of building a newsletter, if you even think it's something worth doing, which is another question.
I'll tell you, my favorite method of building a newsletter is just having links in the back of my books. You know, hey, join my newsletter. You have this perk, that perk, kind of on down. And that way I get kind of my more rabid fans on board. And I can actually put them in different segments of my newsletter, so I can target them differently than other populations of people in my subscriber list.
Nice. That's a good idea to have a segment for those organic ads.
The back page is really important, and that's something I didn't do at first, and had a couple author friends of mine from a local author group here in Arizona suggest that. I actually get a lot of subscribers from little local book fairs. You know, I mean, I might get 2 or 3, 4. And this is something I've been trying to figure out over the last 2 years also. You know, I'll get a couple of subscribers here and there, but you know, a week or a day or whatever. But I'll go to like Tucson Comic-Con, and I got like, I don't know, over 2 days, I got like 100 people sign up for my newsletter. Just putting out a little sheet saying, hey, sign up for my newsletter. You know, and I would say don't be shy about asking people. You know, tell your friends, hey, tell your friends to sign up for my newsletter, please. You know, I mean, the worst they can say is no. So
yeah, I agree with that. I think events are really, really a good place to find those people, because like they're there for that reason already. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. And I would say if you have like some kind of incentive for them to sign up as well, then that can be good. So even if it's like a customized bookmark or like as one of those little extract booklet things that you can make and stuff like that, you know, any little thing that just looks nice that they can take home with them, then they'll be way more likely to sign up if they get something for free.
That's true.
It's more memorable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And stuff like Redbubble make that so easy now.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I've still got
people...
all of my bookmarks and little badges and pins from the last time I went to Yalk a couple of years ago. So
there you go. And Vistaprint is good for that too, for people who are doing a design on a budget. I often find, tell me if you guys find something similar, that when people sign up at an event in person, a lot of them on my lists anyway tend to be writers, and they're actually other people who want to ask me questions about publishing. And that may also be because I do run a blog, although I have not written on it much this year, but I usually run a blog that I update a couple times a month with writing progress, process, and bits and pieces about marketing and stuff too. Do you find that a lot of your in-person event signups are other writers, or are they mostly readers?
I don't. Most of mine are, I think, readers, but I mean that also kind of opens up another door, and the big struggle, especially for us as independent authors, is that it seems like we're constantly marketing to other authors, and right, and we really want to market to readers, and so I haven't seen that too much, but you know, like if you can find a pretty good comic book convention, I know it might seem a little odd, but
oh no, they're great.
I had a lot of success at this last Comic-Con in Tucson, with people sign up, and you know, just sales in general. So
yeah, my sales have been excellent at cons, but I find that even still, the people who sign up for my newsletter, some of them are definitely readers, but some of them are just people who want to ask me writing questions, which is totally fine. I'm happy to have those people around as well. And I think there's a chance too, those that stick around may eventually actually just wind up buying a book. Right? Like eventually they're like, you know, Virginia gives a lot of writing advice that I like. I think I'm going to check out one of her books now, finally, 3 years later. Maybe it happens. I mean, really, that's the other thing too, is how much guesswork goes into any of the marketing we do, right? Like we never really know how many of anything. You can do a lot with link tracking these days, a lot more than you could, especially if you're willing to shell out for some
expensive, isn't it?
To
you know, to trial everything, and when you are running the shop yourself, it's sometimes disheartening to sink a bit of money into this particular avenue and it just didn't work. I tend not to say to people that thing will never work, because what I usually learn is that it didn't work for my book, my genre, or my presentation of my book. So, you know, I'm sure we've all seen people on message boards and whatnot and on social media saying, hey, what's this particular promotion service like? And before people jump in and say, nah, it's no good, maybe they mean it didn't work for my particular genre or my book. So I can't remember, were we going to drift that way towards those sort of newsletter promotion services?
Well, we're going to talk, we are,
or have I hijacked?
First of all, organically talk about everything you want. We do not have to stick to the schedule, but we are definitely going to talk about different resources. And that's one of them. So go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously I'm alluding to things like the juggernaut that is BookBub, but also the smaller players. And we'll all probably have our favorites and ones we know that that work really good for our genre or our stuff. And they're the sorts of ones that I guess lots of authors have been vetting for years now. And you can probably, with a little bit of research, find out which ones are still operating at a good level. So someone like the Fussy Librarian, I always have great results with, and I always see them recommended always. And very briefly, in case someone, you know, watching doesn't know that, basically you would purchase an ad in the newsletter space of a company that sends tailored emails to folks who are interested in getting those emails, which makes them pretty powerful because it's someone signed up for that genre. They want to hear about your deal. And yeah, those ones The BookBub remains that sort of upper tier one that everyone wants to get in once a month, but it's hard. But the advice there, I guess, is to never give up. I think I submitted 100 times across 7 books before I got one ad. It's just, you kind of wear them down, I think, or at least I did. Maybe.
From my BookBub experience specifically, obviously working for a publisher is a little bit easier because we can have like meetings with them and stuff, and we can actually be like, this is what we want, and like kind of push them into it. And obviously we do have bigger budgets, but still a lot smaller than like the big publishers by a long shot. So the main thing that I've found, and actually some tips that I got from my last meeting with our contacts at BookBub, is basically that you want to go in as early as possible with your submissions and stuff. Don't wait until the end of it. They start selecting straight away, and they just fill them up as soon as you get them in. So get them in straight away, and just properly analyze where your books are doing well and stuff. So if you go onto like obviously you guys are American, maybe Australian accent, yeah. So if you like are looking at the territories and where things are doing well, you then obviously can pick out like, okay, well, it's doing well there, but then on Amazon, where are my reviews the highest? Because they look at that. So I've been trying to pitch a book for a US BookBub for months now. They just will not take any reviews in the US, which is obviously why we want to get it there. But then something like one of our big crime books, which has a really global scope, like they just pick that up like that, but obviously they're expensive. So yeah, but really look into all of the stuff that's going on Amazon, and also wait about 3 months at least minimum between submitting your books, because they don't really take on, like if they've taken on your book once, then they won't take it on for 3 months afterwards usually.
They say 6 months
Or
on
longer.
the site for indie publishers. I mean, they may do something different with bigger presses, but for indies, they say wait 6 months if they've already accepted it before submitting it again.
Yeah, harsh.
I think everything's a bit harsh towards indies in the grand scheme of things.
I guess they don't want to fatigue their subscribers, do they?
No.
And then that's going to get some sort of diminishing return for you as an author too. You're like, wow, I just spent all that money on that ad. I thought it was going to go through the roof. And I guess that won't happen if you work those same outlets over and over again. Someone like Freebooksy. I think I remember 4 years ago when I think no one on the Freebooksy list have heard of me. Maybe I had 3,000 to 5,000 downloads of this book. If I book a Freebooksy ad tomorrow, that same book obviously is not going to remove that many free units. It's just doesn't work like that anymore, which is fine. People can get tired of me. And I don't want to, I guess, irritate those readers, even with, we talk about that whole 7 impressions before someone remembers something. If that holds true, then some of these poor subscribers, they're up to quite a few impressions, and they've seen my stuff a lot of times. Maybe it's time for a pen name, just to give them the illusion of variety.
Yeah, it's true that I think BookBub is smart in the way they spread out their exposure of specific books. And I think it's important to note too, to anyone listening, that you can submit a different book that hasn't been accepted yet once a month until it's accepted. And that's, so you don't have to, if you get a BookBub, just like stop dealing with them for 6 months. You can continue to submit the rest of your catalog. And they will take book 2s and they will take book 3s. They're not exclusive to first in series. So that's worth considering as well. Up to you whether or not it's a good strategy for you to submit a book 2 if you don't have a book 3, 4, and 5. Might not be as worth it. But
a lot of these techniques we're talking about are sort of predicated a bit on the loss leader, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where we're suggesting, without saying it out loud, run your first book cheap or free so that readers, if they enjoy it, flow on and buy the others. That doesn't work when you're just starting out and you only have one book. You've just got one book, and you hope to capture them capture the reader's interest with that sign up link in the back, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's debate too about the whole cheap and free first book, how well it captures an audience. I mean, the truth is, if you get a reader that really enjoys it, they're gonna shell out for subsequent books. But if you get a reader that kind of enjoys it, assuming they even actually read it, they still might be a person who never spends more than 99 cents on a book, or only likes to read free books. And there are a lot of ways to get free books these days. So there's an extent to which those readers may not convert. And so you want to be careful how much you spend on those loss leading ads. But ultimately it's a technique that has worked for a lot of people. Like there are a lot of authors that are doing really well with that strategy. So you know, you don't want to dismiss it, but at the same time, it's a question of scaling, right? Like how well does it work at what magnitude?
Yeah, I prefer with free book, like I don't mind 99p promotions, but I don't really like free book promotions myself. I just get like, I'm very sort of numbers and money driven. So the second I see that like it costs through the roof on an Amazon ad or whatever, I'm just like, nope. So free book promotions for me, I don't really like them very much, but we do them in my company. And they do work for, I think, sort of our like larger backlist titles. So, you know, like the where you've got maybe like 7 to 10 books in a row, and like you're putting one for free or whatever. But actually some of them I find, people just get a little bit cheeky. And obviously the other free book services, so like including NetGalley, which obviously you're getting a review for it, which is great, but like it's still a free book service essentially that you're paying for. And when I sometimes will send people like a new book, or I'll be like, oh, thank you for reviewing this, can you just like post your review on Amazon? I'll often get responses being like, oh, can I now have this book to review? And it'll often be a book that's already out that they can buy right now, and I'll have to respond to them just saying, you know, go buy it basically. Or I don't respond because it can get a bit annoying. But yeah, for free books, like they can work in certain ways, but I wouldn't personally put money on promoting them after the fact. Like I would just put them on the free promotion, let people know organically in whatever ways that you have to do that. And then if you feel that you need to put a bit of money on it, then that's fine, but only do so if you think, okay, it's going to boost the rest of my titles. Like I wouldn't really do it on a first book.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. I feel like we're missing some of the general nods of assent because a lot of us keep muting our microphones. I don't know about anybody else. I have a 3-year-old in the background, so I keep muting my mic so that we don't have to hear everything that she's saying right now. But I'm watching all of our heads go up and down, like and then it's like, but it's silent. Okay, so I think we've covered the sort of the email list side of things for a bit. And I want to move on to some more of our questions. I do see we're getting some questions in the chat, so that's nice. We'll have those at the end. But in terms of best marketing resources, so we just talked about BookBub, which is a featured deal on BookBub. And to be clear, we are talking about a featured deal on BookBub specifically when we talk about BookBub without any other reference. Otherwise, we tend to say BookBub ads. And BookBub ads are also effective in their own right. So we've featured deals, but what are, in terms of resources that aren't the service of advertising, but are resources to teach you about advertising, what are everyone's favorite resources for advertising? What is a course that you've encountered, or a blog, or a book, or so Sophie's holding something up. I didn't get a chance to read the title. But what are your favorite resources for teaching you to advertise? What helped you the most to get better at advertising? That book says help.
My background's messing this up. One at a time. This one was Amazon Ads Unleashed. It's obviously in reverse, but this one's Advanced Publishing and Marketing Strategies for Indie Authors. So my MD basically ordered a load of these books online, and we've been going through them together and just basically pulling out the best strategies. And this one has definitely been the best out of the few that we ordered. So I would recommend that. So that's Amazon Ads Unleashed by Robert J. Ryan. And then Help, My Facebook Ads Suck. This one's
That's a good
brilliant
one.
too. Yeah, this one is just sort of about turning your ads around, and it's written by Mal Cooper and Jill Cooper, who are two best-selling authors. So it does actually touch on a lot of stuff to do with books publishing as well. So that's really good. And yeah, they're only thin, they're not like too long, so they're quite nice. But a free course that I did was the inbound marketing course. I did it while I was at university to boost job applications afterwards. And it taught me everything that I now apply about customer personas and the customer journey and marketing funnels. It's obviously not publishing specific, but it will teach you the basics, and it's free. And yeah, it's quite a fun course to do. Like, I really enjoyed it. It didn't take me too long. So
Sophie, would you mind typing the name of that into our Zoom chat, if you can, and then I will copy and paste it into the chat on YouTube, or you can write it straight into the YouTube chat if you're watching that. But I don't know that you're keeping track on that.
no, I'm not on the YouTube. I just
Brilliant.
The two resources that I found have helped me quite a bit are Mark Dawson, and I actually did not purchase his course, but several friends of mine who are, they're six-figure independent author, earners did, and I used a lot of the information that they extrapolated from his courses, and then I did purchase Rob Eager's course that more specifically targeted Amazon ads, and that was pretty good too. Although I would say Rob Eager more targets nonfiction. I think his philosophies are maybe a little bit more geared towards nonfiction, even though a lot of the information in there was really good. And then I guess my other suggestion is, and I got lucky in that I have a friend who can do Facebook ads and social media, and has been more so, I guess, after working with me, targeting independent authors as a clientele. Find someone also that can help you do that. I mean, I just personally, I don't want to spend any time on that stuff. I'd rather be writing if I could, as opposed to figuring out how to do Facebook ads other than a superficial level. And so that's the other thing. If you can find someone that can help, and Virginia, if people want his name, I can certainly give it, or someone locally that can help you out, that I think that's also very beneficial. So.
Sure, if you wanna post that, we can totally advertise him in the comments. That's fine. Yeah, if you can enter it in the chat, and I'll copy and paste it into the comments. And I'm keeping notes to put into the permanent comments under the video after too. Yeah, in terms, I know you mentioned Mark Dawson's course. I actually did go ahead and buy his Ads for Authors a year and a bit ago, and that has actually been the main thing that has turned my sales. And like, I'm still not, I would like to be making a full-time income off of this, and I'm not there yet. But I've gone from making dozens of dollars per month to making hundreds of dollars per month, and that has largely been thanks to that course, because I had tried to do Amazon ads and Facebook ads on my own. I would start them up and they would do nothing, just nothing. They would spend my money and get me zero sales, and it was because I didn't know how to target. Like, I didn't. There are all these options that both of those advertising companies give you, and I didn't know how to narrow them down in an effective way. And so that was the thing I found most useful about his course, which is expensive, but does kind of pay dividends eventually. But there are some additional free resources along those lines. Sophie mentioned the inbound marketing course. There's also a free course that I found effective, was the Ryan, what's his last name? He does a 7-day Amazon ad challenge.
Okay.
Was his name Brian or Ryan? Oh,
Brian Meeks.
Huh?
Are you talking about Brian Meeks?
Maybe. that doesn't sound exactly right. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to go look it up and then I'll add it to the comments afterwards. But the seven-day Amazon Ads Challenge by whoever it was, maybe Brian Meeks. I think it's Brian somebody. Meeks doesn't sound right, but my brain is mush, so it could actually be. Was actually really effective in getting my Amazon ads to serve. I didn't realize how many Amazon ads you needed to make in order to get Amazon to serve them. Early on when I first tried Amazon ads, I did budget run ads and they served and then did nothing. But you can get pay-per-click ads to serve if you run enough ads, and I didn't know that. And that's a totally free resource. Of course, he's trying to get you to sign up for his paid course at the end, but even just doing the 7-day ad challenge is actually pretty effective. So that's another good resource for people who are just starting out. Melinda, did you want to add anything to advertising resources?
I just like a lot of the podcasts. You already mentioned Mark Dawson. I'd like to add to that. Lindsay Broker actually has a really cool podcast. She gets a lot of people on. It's not just for advertising. You can find all kinds of things on there, covers, whatnot, branding. Another one is Kindlepreneur. I find is pretty informative too. Nice. And yeah, just a lot of the books and stuff that I've read, Help My Facebook Ads Suck is awesome. That really kind of like got me off on the Facebook train. It doesn't go as in depth as I think that I need to go on Facebook. And so you kind of have to start off on that level and then take it up a notch, learn about Facebook pixels and stuff like that. But that's a good place to start.
Cool. Yeah, Facebook pixels can be incredibly useful. We were talking before about the guesswork involved in advertising and tracking devices, which are somewhat creepy but exist these days, are actually super useful in determining which of your advertising methods is working. Because otherwise you have to just try one thing at a time, changing only one factor at a time, and then waiting in order to know if something works.
And it's worse.
No, go ahead.
It's also much worse, that trial and error thing, if you're using an aggregator. Because when I'm direct with the retailer, I have hourly results. When I'm using the aggregator, it's a month later, whether I maybe think that ad worked. Part of me is very sad that I used an aggregator for half of my stuff, and the other half of me is really happy because it's far less in terms of collating reports and managing income.
It's less work,
so.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with Draft to Digital, for example. They're a great company. I want to start off with that for what they're doing, what they do. I think they do a good job. But just in terms of whether or not I like having my stuff with an aggregator at all, some parts of it were really great. Like, it was so lovely to just be able to check one dashboard for stuff, right? And it's lovely to be able to have those reports come in all through one person. But as you say, the reports are super delayed, and it makes it harder to make changes. They've actually made some changes recently that makes it easier to make changes, but it's not as, you don't have as much control. And what's interesting, I think, one of the main reasons I became an indie author was control. Like, that's, I never even submitted any of my novels to traditional publishing, because at the time that I was publishing, I had some resources that told me about indie publishing and how it could go. And I looked at that and the rights that I got to keep and everything, and the control I got to have over the cover and everything else. And then I looked at traditional publishing and I was like, well, okay, they'll market for me, but I have to cede so much control into the final product. I don't know if I like that. And so I chose indie basically because I'm a control freak. That was
it does suit. Yeah, if you want to have at least an opinion, that's not quite right, but if you want to have a lot of control over every step and you don't mind being exhausted, I think you'll like being independent.
The don't mind being exhausted thing is kind of key.
One of the ways that's really easy, and I didn't hear anyone bring it up, that's why I'm going to bring it up. One of the ways it's really easy to keep track of your ads and how they're doing is to get an Amazon Associates number. And then you can create, for anyone out there that doesn't have that, you can create individual URLs for each one of your ads and use that, you know, and then on your Amazon Associates. I mean, initially it is a little extra work, but you know, you can then see, okay, this particular Facebook ad has generated, you know, so many clicks and so much in sales. You know, because you know, especially for me, I'm in terms of my ebook, I'm KU, and I do that because probably 65 to 70% of my ebook income comes from KU page reads, and so, you know, you get no data from Amazon in terms of, you know, who's buying what, where, and so, I mean, I don't know, maybe eventually I'll go wide, but right now it's just not worth it. So that you know, having that associates, Amazon Associates links helps a lot.
Yeah, for Facebook ads, it's very useful. Sorry, go ahead, Melinda.
Oh, I was just going to throw something out there, kind of jumping onto the back of that. Reader links is also very useful.
Heard that.
Yeah, a lot of people prefer book reports, but what's cool about reader links is that you can actually get these individual tracking things. You can actually set them up any way you want for any particular person. You can actually tag on your Facebook pixel, or you can use your Amazon Associates code, and you can actually really kind of in-depth get into that data analysis. That really kind of helps too.
That's good to know. I've heard a couple people recommend reader links, and I haven't tried it yet, so I'm curious about it as well.
Yeah. One thing, if you are selling directly through your own website, which is like, this is something that I miss from my last job when I worked for a big academic publisher, was the fact that we could see through Google Analytics pretty much everything that you want to see, but also you can set up goals for when people are on your pages and things. So if they have like gone to the bottom of the page, you can set up a goal for that, which we were putting out like free articles and stuff. So we wanted to see that people were reading them, but then you can also do for like we were asking for submissions and stuff that was a bit different. But if you were on a sales page, for example, you could set up a goal of, you know, clicked through to sell and like checked out and all of that. And you can set that all up in the goals section. And again, it takes quite a while, but if you're just doing it on one website, then it's really, really useful. And I actually really miss that because, yeah, Amazon is really, really difficult to like see when you've done an ad, even through associates, because like we have a website which also uses the associate links that then we put on the Facebook ads and things. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to put the same link in my Facebook ad that I'm going to put in an Instagram ad. So I have to like wait to do those so that I can see the impact of them individually. So yeah,
if you create up to 100 tags for that.
Yeah, but the problem with it is that like when you look at the reports and stuff, it only shows like the book title from what I can see. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong.
You can break your reports down to the tag, so you can see just one tag at a time.
Ooh,
or clicks. Yeah, because I use it on multiple Facebook ads, and for each Facebook ad I use a different little tag in there, and so I get statistics on exactly which Facebook ad is behaving well and which one is not. Yeah, so you can actually break that down even more in the Amazon Associates page, which is nice. But I find even still, if you have anything in Kindle Unlimited, and there's just you miss a lot of the reporting. Really, even with Amazon Associates in place, there's just nothing that tells you about downloads except for keeping a close eye on your ranking. That's really the only way to get an idea of how many Kindle Unlimited downloads have happened. And then of course you eventually get page reads, but
which doesn't quite say this many people read this book or this far into this book. It's just here's a total number.
Yeah.
That could be 12 people or it could be 5 reading this far. It's so vague, and
or it could be 500 people reading 3 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is really useful data. It should let you know that, wow, 500 people gave up after 3 pages. I need to do something. But because you don't have that data, it's like, okay, 500 page reads.
Yeah, woo, or 1,500. You're like, yeah, all right. 3 people read the whole book. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And what worries me, I don't really understand. I understand that Amazon's very proprietary of their data. but they would make more money if we were all advertising more effectively, right? Like there would be more purchases all around. And even though we're like paying for click, they could be paying for the same number of clicks and having more of them convert to sales if we had more data. So it's a little weird to me that they don't bother sharing that info. But I'd be very curious to know, Sophie, do they share any additional info with publishers that they don't share with indies?
I mean, I don't know entirely what you guys get
Right.
versus, because it's the same way that we go, okay, we're a tiny publisher and we look at Hachette, HarperCollins, and they get way more than we do.
Right.
Like we find it very difficult to set up conversations with them and stuff like that still, because of how small we are and the fact that we don't spend as much as the big publishers on it. So yeah, but what we have currently, I can just say from my experiences, we have obviously the AMS platform, so that's the one that I use is AMS, and on that, you know, I've got all the reporting on there and stuff, and then we also have the Kindle Enterprise. I can't remember what it's the last letter it was. It's a KEP, KEP,
Okay.
but it's Kindle Enterprise something. And on that, we can see the breakdown of sales per day and sales by territory as well. But I don't know if we pay extra for that. If we do, then like that might be a thing. But like you can look that up. Like KEP, Kindle Enterprise. It's probably publishing, but yeah, and that just breaks down the sales. Well, that's all I use it for, is a sales dashboard, but they have multiple dashboards on there as well.
All right. So we've spent a lot of time talking about professional advertising that in some way is going to cost us money. We've also talked about newsletters, which are great, but a lot of people have questions about social media, the free version for marketing. And so I want to ask you guys, does social media enter into your marketing strategy at all? Somewhat, a lot. I know, I'll start by saying, I think that we can all safely agree, for anyone watching, showing up on social media and saying, buy my book, and nothing else is a bad idea. But like that does not work. I think it's a mistake that many of us make starting out. Maybe not everybody makes it, but I think I did early on.
You get excited.
Yeah, you get excited, right? You're like, I wrote a book. Come on, people, buy my book. But then after that, once you mature a little bit, what ways do you use social media as part of your marketing strategy, if at all?
So I use a lot of social media. A ton of Facebook. I've started using Twitter more. There is the program that I use because obviously, I mean, for me, I have a day job, and you know my books have been doing really well, which is awesome. But you know, like you, Virginia, I'm not at a point where I can stop teaching, and so for me, Hootsuite has been a savior. It's HOOTSUITE.com. And you can upload up to a year worth of social media interaction through Hootsuite. And, you know, you attach all of your social medias and, you know, just schedule them as you want. Through A/B testing, I know that my Facebook ads directly correlate to ebook and paperback sales, and my Amazon ads directly correlate to my Kindle Unlimited page reads. I don't know why that is. I just know that that's how it correlates, and so I put a lot of time in. And yeah, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter are free, but my advice to someone is find someone, learn how to do it yourself. But I think you have to put some money into your social media ads.
Certainly, yeah. For the advertising, I would say yes. So but I'm curious too, like how much just social media, the non-paid advertising, and that is to say, not even really advertising, but how much does social media interaction play into different marketing strategies?
Well, I'll tell you, I built my Twitter up to 20,000 followers at one point. And honestly, I can't say it did anything for me to sell books. So I finally got to the point where I check on Twitter about once a week, and I've never really do too much anymore. Facebook, I think, gives me a little bit more brand awareness, honestly. But as far as actually generating organic sales just by free social media, I'm really not seeing it, at least from my end.
It's hard to track that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it
it
is
is
hard to
very
track.
hard.
That
Yeah.
day when I was on Twitter and I was active for a couple of hours and maybe a book sold in that time. I don't know, like I mean, I can see where, like, I just finished a Kickstarter and I can see, because Kickstarter gives me the tracking, that
Yeah.
this person from Twitter went to my page and backed. So I can see that. But I guess, like, with a little bit about maybe even image crafting. So this is what I'm like on social media. And if I'm not an absolute jerk, maybe people one day check me out.
Right.
But if they're just browsing through Amazon and they want to see what's this author really like, where are they going to find me if I'm not at least somewhere? And because I don't use Facebook, it's Twitter or my webpage. Sorry, my website. My website's very infrequently updated because Twitter's quicker.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, we want to spend our time writing. So
Yeah.
whatever's quickest tends to appeal to me. Yeah.
I will. I'll go ahead and add my own comment on this. That for me, I tried when I first started publishing. I tried using Twitter as a marketing tool and failed miserably, because I think if you're trying to use it as a marketing tool, it doesn't work. The algorithms don't support you for just posting links to your books all the time. But I basically abandoned that a few years ago and started using Twitter just as Twitter is meant to be, which is as an online community of sorts. And I have since seen a sort of just like an incidental increase in sales that a few of which I can actually track from Twitter because of my link trackers. But that just, it's basically me being me on Twitter. And someone being like, I think that person's funny. What do they do? And then going and clicking my profile. Oh, they sell books, so I'm going to buy one. You know, like that's basically it.
It feels like there's a lot more of just writers chatting on Twitter and a lot more readers on Facebook. That's how it feels.
Oh, that's interesting. I have found a fairly large, if you get into the review blogging community, which it wasn't attached to until SPFBO, honestly. And since then I've stumbled across a lot of readers because they tend to interact with those review bloggers. And then I've had those review bloggers blogging my stuff, and then that's been cool too. But I do think the only way to approach that is to just go be yourself on Twitter. And if yourself is not a complete jerk, as Ashley mentioned, then that may incidentally lead to some awareness of your brand and some people checking out your books. But it's really not. It's not a marketing tool.
I mean, I agree and disagree with it's not a marketing tool, only because like we do use it as a marketing tool, but it's very, very light or like organic marketing of sort of like pretty much all of our tweets are either like cover reveals or publication days or buy the book, basically. And pretty much every tweet has a link to the book in it, but that's because we're a publisher, we're kind of allowed to do that. But then
you're expected to do that.
Yeah. But from my personal experience, I do agree, like the people who I have had the best connections with before I started working in trade publishing, I would buy their books and be way more supportive of their books and share about them and talk about them because I had really good interactions with them. Like Stuart Turton is brilliant. Like he will just like reply to you and you will have this interaction. You meet them at events and they will just be so lovely and nice. And I think that's those connections that you can build with these authors as a reader can make you want them to have success as well. And as a blogger, like I grew my Twitter following to like over 2,000 I think so, last year, and basically just built my blog up to a stage where lots of people were reading and enjoying my content. And then I might have like one or two people be like, oh, I've just gone and bought this book because you recommended it. And I think that's what Twitter's great for. But yeah, Facebook is better in terms of like those groups and those platforms and things to be able to actually go into them and say, oh, hey, this is my this is my book and this is what it's about, and talking with readers like in crime book groups, fantasy book groups and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the questions. We do have a few questions in our chat, and it's okay. There's no panel immediately after us, so we can go a couple minutes over. So,
Sorry.
no, it's all right.
That's because I was
Oh, you're
late.
fine. You weren't. I wish I could pin it on you, actually, but you weren't actually the reason we started late. I didn't have my act together. So we've got a few questions here. I think we covered this one. How do you feel about using Facebook to promote your work? Is it financially worthwhile? And then it says, or ethically. I'm not sure there's an ethical question behind using Facebook to promote your work. That's
I guess there's an
different.
ethical question behind using Facebook.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a good
Stop.
point. Behind using Facebook, period. Agreed. Yes.
But I guess that's not really our panel's
yeah, well, maybe we'll
purview, is
leave
it?
that off for now. How do you recommend setting up optimization models on Facebook ads when you are a new author? I recommend taking a course on it or reading a book on it. Anyone else?
100%.
Yeah. So someone mentioned Help My Facebook Ads Suck. Apparently that's a good resource. I did Ads for Authors, which is an expensive course with Mark Dawson. But even just following some of his free posts, he periodically, before he ramps up the course, he does a bunch of free classes. There's like an hour-long session you can do, and even that is hugely helpful when you're starting from nothing.
Yeah, Book Machine also, I think it's a mostly UK based thing, but Book Machine do training and stuff, and they have like various levels of training for like Facebook advertising, so that's good.
Nice. What else? There was another question.
Can I squeeze in?
Yeah, squeeze in.
And I'll defer to the Facebook experts that are on the panel with me because I haven't used the ads. But if you can't get into one of the books for whatever reason that you find, sometimes you'll get some help from a writers group, whether it's in person or online. And we've talked a little bit about that, but you can always hopefully find someone who's better than you at this thing, and maybe they're in a similar genre. So if we're talking about modeling, you might be able to ask that author who's a little bit ahead of you, and say, look, I've got this kind of book, it's in this subgenre, here are some information, what do you think I should do? And if you're lucky, you'll get someone nice and they'll actually talk to you. And that's how I got a lot of my information. Just found 3 good writers groups and just asked questions and listened. And yeah, some people, lots of people helped. It was awesome. I think we have a pretty good community in terms of helping each other. So you can take advantage of that, whereby, because as you know, you can't ask a book a question.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead. One of the things that I found about fantasy authors is that they are, I'm only speaking, I only say that because I don't know about the other genres, but most fantasy authors who are doing very well are very, very generous with their time and information. And I mean, Melinda, I reached out to Melinda when I was first getting started, and she was, replied to any questions I had. J.A. Andrews, I'm in an author group with Eric T. Knight. David Estes is another one that I reached out to, and he spent a lot of time helping me out. And then, we're all indie authors. Well, then, guys like Brent Weeks and even R.A. Salvatore was really generous with their time. And so, yeah, we didn't really talk about that too much, but don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask for those help, even if it's beyond marketing. How do you do this? Why did you do this? David Estes was the one that he took a look at my Amazon page and said, hey, you need to change the font here, you need to bold this, you need to take this out, and here's a guy that's making 7 figures a year, and I'm a nobody. And so a lot of authors are really generous with their time and information. No one, we're not competing against each other.
No.
The more we sell, the more we're helping each other. So
it's true. Because we're now past the 11 o'clock mark, I'm just gonna, and there's a question from a reader that actually matches the final question I wanted to ask everybody anyway, which is, what is if any, are there any parts of marketing that you actually enjoy? And the reader question is, what has been the most fun or enjoyable ways you've successfully marketed your books? I feel like these are essentially the same question. So has there been any part of marketing that you actually liked? or do like? Is there any part of it that you find fun, either because you like to nerd out on spreadsheets or because there's actually a fun element that most people would find fun behind it? Go ahead.
No.
Okay. Chris Patterson, hard no.
I love marketing. I mean, I choose to do it literally
Right.
all the time. So I am the opposite of most people in this. Yeah, I choose to do marketing and it's frustrating as hell, but I love the frustrations. I love the way that you just get to be creative, the different platforms and stuff, especially like, so I have restrictions even in a small company. Like I can't imagine these restrictions in a big company doing trade books, but for you guys, you don't have any restrictions because you're doing it yourselves. So go on TikTok, go on Instagram, go to these places, because I really want to go on TikTok, but I'm not allowed just yet. I'm researching right now. But these are the places where, you know, you can just explore all of the different areas and see who is where and get into there, but also you get to be Big Brother. Like, I know that people say it's creepy and all of this, but it's really exciting to like go, okay, my ideal customer is going to be somebody who is this education level, has this family, goes to these shops, plays these video games, does this on a daily basis. I love pinpointing down to the like very last bit, to the point where I basically know this person as a customer, so that I can get into their feed as like granularly as possible. And I love doing that. And I love analytics, numbers, learning about it, applying like new things. Like if I see some copies worked for a book, then I can apply it to another book and stuff like that. And I just, yeah, I love it all.
Awesome. And that is why people pay Sophie to market their books.
Yeah.
From the other indies, any parts of marketing you actually like?
I like panels like this one. Yeah, there's a couple of Facebook groups where like, I think I'm on one Monday that we're doing Indie Family Feud.
Nice.
You know, stuff like that can be great fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will, if you guys actually, I forgot to ask at the beginning, but if you will post your website links in our Zoom chat, I will copy them to the permanent comments under this video so that people can find it at the end. So this is also a marketing opportunity. Ashley, is there any part of marketing that you like?
I do like it all. I don't really know why. I guess it's that the viciousness of the challenge. It's extremely hard.
It's really hard.
When something works, it's exciting. It's like, wow, I did this thing and it actually worked.
Yeah.
I had a plan, I had an idea, I tried it and it worked. It's maybe it's a bit like a plot twist. You know, you set something up and you're waiting for it to work. It's a bit like that.
Invigorating.
I guess, yeah. Maybe, yeah, I think maybe I'm just stubborn in that if something's really difficult, I just keep trying unless it's piano. That was really hard.
Ashley, may I recommend organizing a virtual convention in a very short period of time for your next challenge?
Getting some insight into the work that you guys have done. Maybe not.
I was thinking like I have a similar personality to you, Ashley, I think. And I love anything that's really hard. I'm like, I'm going to freaking do that. It's going to be awesome. And that is precisely why I did all of this. And whoops. But at any rate, someone said, anyone else freeze? I wonder if our video has clocked up. I don't, hopefully it's just.
I don't know. I just got like a battery notification, which might have jolted something. But
it looks like we're still going on YouTube. But anyway, so I actually do enjoy personally marketing. I just wish it were a separate job. Like I wish I had Sophie's job for marketing. I would like to get paid to market other people's books. And then I wish I could just write and someone else would market my books. I feel like the connection between the marketing and it being my book makes it weirdly more stressful, and to feel like I'm less good at all parts of it. Because when my marketing fails, I feel like I've failed as a writer, which is not the case. They're two entirely separate things. But I'm like, oh, my book is terrible. That's why no one's buying it. When I succeed in marketing, people buy it and then buy the next one. So clearly they're not that bad, but like it's really easy to internalize it as a writing failure when it's a marketing failure. And it's taken me a long while to realize that that's the difference there. But in terms of just like a specific marketing thing that I like, I would say in-person events. Chris mentioned in-person events, and it's maybe a little weird to think of them as a marketing tool, but I do feel like it is a marketing tool, because even though I usually make money in terms of sales versus table cost, so they make their own money anyway, it's also a branding thing. And I'll get readers that come back year after year to the same con to see me, and I feel like it is a marketing piece. And I love conventions, in-person ones and online ones. So yeah, that's my take on that.
I will say I do like conventions. I mean, obviously I'm a fantasy guy, and so I got that nerd running through me, but I haven't worked myself up to dressing up at cons yet. I'm slowly working myself up. I wore my Melinda would be familiar with Book Sniffer. I wore my Book Sniffer shirt.
Oh, nice.
That was about as close as I got to dressing up in cosplay, but I'm getting there slowly.
Next year you can wear a shirt with Yoda on it.
Yeah.
Or a Dalek or whatever, pick your fandom, but slowly, incrementally, and then eventually you just become the Dalek, and then you're really there.
If people watching haven't checked out Book Sniffer, that's another really good resource that has just recently become available for authors to have a platform to connect with their readers and create really cool looking ads and all kinds of stuff too. So
thanks for plugging us. And we're coming out with iOS this month.
Oh, sweet.
Good.
I think this month or next month.
All right. James asked the question, I think we're going to wrap up, but are there many freelance marketers out there to save authors the job? James, I will post the link to Chris's friend, who is a freelance marketer. There aren't a ton, and the ones that exist tend to be very expensive. So at least in my experience, if anyone has had a different experience, please speak up. I hired a guy to do marketing for me for a percentage split on sales, and I loved it. And then he disappeared. Like he actually just disappeared off of social media and email and everything. I'm worried something very bad actually happened to him. Really sorry, that's a little bit more morbid, but anyway, but that person, and so, but I would love to go back to that. And I wish that there were more people like that. If you guys have any experience with that, I'm going to mute myself.
Tim has been really good for me. And there's probably a lot of people out there like him. I think as indie authors, one of the things that we need in order to make that work, we're indie authors because we want control. And so that, I kind of just defer to my guy and not worry about what he's doing and just trust that he knows what he's doing. I think that's one of the biggest struggles, is just being able to step back and take your fingers out of it and let someone else run with it. But you got to be willing to spend a little bit of money, I guess. I'm not sure what's expensive and what's not, but.
Yeah, well, Sam Missingham is a UK-based freelance marketer. She runs Lounge Books, which is a really, really good platform. And at the moment, especially during the isolation phase, she is doing a lot of books promotions. Basically, like, she's tweeting, just asking people like about their books and stuff, and then sharing publication days and all of that kind of thing. But otherwise, she's really good. She used to work for HarperCollins in the UK, and she's the craziest, wackiest person you'll ever meet, but she's absolutely brilliant at marketing books, so I would recommend her.
That sounds lovely. All right, any final comments? Because I think we're going to wrap this up. We're now 12 minutes past, which is fine, but because there's not a panel immediately after, but we're try to keep it to an hour. So anything at all?
I guess one thing, which is really quickly on Kickstarter. I know a few of us have used Kickstarter, and obviously Kickstarter is the sort of thing where you want to bring an audience to your product, the thing you're trying to make that doesn't exist yet. I found that really true. And obviously with my two campaigns, I've had a really modest budget. And look, I've gone past it and that's awesome, but I'm certainly not doing anything like, say, Michael J. Sullivan does. It's, you know, it's modest, but it has actually introduced me to more readers. People who were already on Kickstarter but had not heard of me have found my project and backed. So sometimes you can find audiences in that high pressure situation, but it it really is high pressure doing a Kickstarter campaign. If you like stress,
Seriously,
go for it.
It's a lot of stress. Yeah, they're well worth it. I've only run one, and so Ashley, you've now outstripped me. I remember before you started your first one, you sent me a bunch of questions.
Yeah. So if I've outstripped you, it's because you helped me.
Yeah, well, no, but you just you've gone off and done a few of them now, and I just did the one for Blade's Edge. But I'm actually thinking about doing another one for the third book in the series. But Kickstarters can be a really huge and useful tool to an indie author. It's basically like creating your small temporary publishing house. But yeah, it's a huge amount of extra work. It's basically Kickstarter becomes your full-time job for the length of the Kickstarter. And until you've fulfilled all of your rewards at the end. So it's actually, it does a lot. Well, I think we really got to wrap this up because we're about to hit the 15-minute past the hour mark. So I just want to thank you guys so much for coming and talking about marketing with us. This has been wonderful. Melinda, I wish that we'd gotten to talk to you more about Book Sniffer, because it's actually a huge, a new resource that can be a huge help to a lot of authors. So I'm looking forward to delving farther into it after this con is done and I have time again. But please post any and all relevant links into our chat, and everybody, you are welcome to stick around for a second after I end us going live, and I will put a bunch of links into the permanent comments underneath this. Huge thanks to our audience, everyone who asked questions, and everyone who watches us later. Thanks for being here. Please make sure you check out Artist Alley. I meant to mention it at the beginning, but I forgot. We have an Artist Alley for QuaranCon 2020. Our website is QuaranCon2020.com, and the Artist Alley is /artist-alley. And there, a number of the authors here have tables, as well as a number of other authors and artists. And please check that out. Support your artists who are missing out on their con season. We were talking about cons and how much we love them, and we're not getting to do most of them this year, and maybe not until next year. So please check those out, and I will also drop links to individual authors' websites here for this in the permanent comments under this video. All right, thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. End stream.